Welcome to Ask an Innovator. We're going to dive right into a quote right off the bat. Many men go fishing all of their lives without knowing that it is not fish they are after. In many ways, this show, Ask an Innovator, is like fishing. We cast a net or try and set a hook hoping to catch a whale of a guest. Well, today we may have got lucky. Thoreau is right. We do not know that it is in fact fish we are looking for, but we do know this. Gord Ellis, an actual poster boy, we'll get into that later, is not afraid to swim upstream. See, Gord embraces innovations, the challenges, the rewards. I'm so excited to have you on the show, Gord.
Thank you.
Welcome to Ask an Innovator.
Thank you. Good to be here.
First question, what is the best and worst part of innovating in Thunder Bay?
Oh boy. The best part for me and what I do is that because I'm primarily an outdoors type person and I like to fish and I like to hunt and I like to camp and all that, we have it right here. Mm-hmm. Like this is the epicenter of that.
Sure.
And I tell people that all the time. You know, a reason I have my career and the kind of career I have is because of Thunder Bay. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Mm-hmm. So that's the positive. The hard part, well, we're a long way from a lot of places.
Yeah.
So, you know, larger centers, you know, like Toronto, we're closer to Winnipeg, Minneapolis a little closer. We're remote. Mm-hmm. So that's probably, I mean, it's not a huge thing for me, but if you're looking for bigger markets, I mean, nowadays you can do it electronically and stuff, but especially early on when I did seminars and stuff, yeah. I was on planes a lot, flying around.
You did something really interesting, I have to say. I asked that question, probably in the last 7 or 8 weeks, I've asked that same question. What's the best and the worst part of doing business in Thunder Bay or operating in Thunder Bay? Everyone forgets the worst part. You actually answered it. People just talk about what's great. People, I think, forget to talk about what's real sometimes. So Thunder Bay gives you a good canvas to work from in terms of running your business.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I've been very, very lucky to be here and to do what I do. Yeah, just because we're in the bush.
Yeah, we're in the bush. Yeah. So how would you now you're really interesting. So you're a National Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame inductee.
Yes, recently, yes.
Recently, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is pretty huge.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, you're the second Hall of Famer we've had in the show now. We were talking about James Baraski, who was on the Blues Hall of Fame. Yeah. So Thunder Bay is producing some pretty amazing people. Do you consider yourself an artist?
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's such a broad term, right? Yeah. But I do, yeah. Like I believe I'm a creative person.
More of a businessman? More of an artist?
I'm more of an artist. I wish I was a better businessman. I won't lie. You have to be a businessman to be. I'm a lifetime freelancer. Mm-hmm. You know. Yeah. Literally, like over 30 years. Right. So I should be better at the business part of it than I am. But it's a part of what I do. I have to marketing and all that kind of stuff. It's part of it, right? But it's the thing I like the least. Mm-hmm. I like the creative side of it the most. The writing, all the aspects of it, photography, performing. Yeah. I mean, I've been a broadcaster for 30 plus years, right? And there's a big performance piece to that.
How long have you been with the CBC?
I did my first freelance items in 1985. Wow. Yeah, I was a very young man then. And it was great because they were extremely welcoming. I had really, I mean, I had done like, I used to do the announcements at high school. That was my radio background, right? But they brought me in because of my outdoors experience. And they brought me in as a columnist to talk about the outdoors, which I still do, right? All these years later, I'm still doing it. But that's how I ended up with the CBC. And then I was basically given all these opportunities to do other things, you know, news reading, some hosting, all that kind of stuff. But it all came out of out of the outdoors. That's been the root of my whole career.
Yeah. As you guys get to know Gord, you're going to meet a really well-rounded person. We work at CBC together. I work a little bit at CBC, and I watch you around the studio doing all kinds of different things. Yeah. I mean, you're a consultant there. You host a show there. I've seen you working the board.
Yeah, I do the tech stuff. The tech. Yeah, I mean, I'll, you know, part of what as a freelancer, I didn't, especially early in my career, I didn't say no to very much. I couldn't afford to, right? Like I just said yes to everything. And usually that worked out well. It didn't always work out well, but if they needed somebody to tech, well, sure, I can learn how to tech. I mean, I like sound. I have some understanding of music. So yeah, so I ended up teching. I've been teching off and on for 20 odd years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, just going to back up a little bit. Are you from Thunder Bay?
I've lived here all my life.
Yeah.
Since I was like 6 weeks old. So
Born and bred in Thunder Bay.
I was born actually in Abilene, Texas.
Right. Oh, wow. Of course you were. Yeah.
My parents, it's a weird story. My parents were in university. My dad was from Southern Ontario. My mom's from California.
Yeah.
They met at university, got married, had me, and then my dad, who was a teacher, came here. So I came to Canada when I was 6 weeks old.
That's amazing.
Came to Thunder Bay. So I've been here my whole life except for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I've lived elsewhere a little bit, but mostly I'm a Thunder Bay lifer.
Right. So of all the things that you identify with, now we can talk about hunting. Mm-hmm. We can talk about as a profession. These are all things that you've made money from. Fishing. Have you made any money playing music?
Yes.
Okay. We have
so I playing in the bands, playing in bars. You get paid.
Right. You get paid. Okay. So professional musician. Mm-hmm. Hunting, fishing, all professions. Writing.
Yep.
Photography.
Yep.
Broadcasting.
Yep.
If any one of them, could say one is your favorite? If you had to throw all, could you do just one?
I probably couldn't do just one and survive.
If you could survive off of it, and there was enough money at the end of the day, could you do just one, or do you
that's
have
a really
maybe
hard question.
Are you like all entrepreneurs and have a little bit of ADD in the sense that you have to do a little bit of a few different things to keep the creative juices flowing?
I think that is a part of it. Like when you're asking me that question, I'm trying to think of one thing that I would do and be happy. When I do like in the winter, I do a lot of working at CBC as a reporter. By the time the spring rolls around, I'm getting a little antsy. I want to get outside more than I have been.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've started doing the last 4 or 5 years, I've been guiding.
Cool.
I guide fishermen.
Right.
And I love it. I never thought that was something I would enjoy, but I really enjoy it because you're introducing people to places that you love, and that's their one shot at it.
Yeah.
Generally. Sometimes people come back, but I
love
it.
I'm assuming you have a few secret spots.
I do.
Yeah.
We all have secrets.
Probably a few more secret spots than most people.
We all do, but a lot of it comes down to just knowing your trade, knowing how to catch fish or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But the beauty of the area is incredible. Like we just live in such a beautiful area. I love showing it off.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
When we were off camera, we talked a little bit about what would you be doing right now, being the end of April, if you weren't here. And of course,
it's fishing season. It's starting. The spring is starting. We have a late spring this year, but it's fishing is on, and I've already been out a few times, and I'll be out a lot more.
Yeah.
I still when I was really hardcore starting my outdoor writing career, I was doing like 200 days a year outside.
That is amazing.
Yeah. I'm probably more like about 100 and some now, which is still a lot.
That's a lot.
But nothing like when I was in my 20s.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We come back from the break, we're going to dive into a little bit more of the economics, and we're going to talk about some of the challenges that it takes to be an entrepreneur, to be a freelancer, to be an innovator. Be right back. Welcome back to Ask an Innovator. Gord Ellis, outdoors icon. I thought for a second or two that I would try to talk to Gord about something other than fishing or hunting. I'm thinking we were trying to, but as I'm getting involved in this and I was kind of doing a little bit of build up and prep for Gord, we're just going to dive. We're going to get into the economics of some fishing. We're going to hit you with another Thoreau quote, because I Google great fishing quotes and I get a lot of Thoreau.
Lots, right?
A lot of Thoreau. So I believe there is a subtle magnetism in nature, which if we unconsciously yield to it, will direct us aright. You spoke a lot about, so far in the first segment, about being in the outdoors, about being blessed almost to be able to have the outdoors here.
Yep.
Could you live in a city? Could you live in Toronto?
I would have a really hard time, and I won't lie. For all sorts of reasons. And I have friends who do what I do, who live in the city, and I know what they go through just to get out of town. just to hook up their boat and hit the highway. I mean, when we hit the Trans-Canada on Saturday morning at 6 a.m., it's a whole lot different than hitting the 401 on Saturday at 6 a.m. Yeah. And where you're going is a whole lot different, and how many people are there is a whole lot different. So could I do it under duress? Yes.
Yeah.
As a choice, no.
Are there as many, just asked a really high level, might be kind of an ignorant question, but is the fishing as good in Southern Ontario as it is up here?
It's actually quite good.
Yeah.
It's just so there's a lot more pressure on it. Yeah, it is good. In fact, I used to go down there a fair bit to fish with people. I work for a magazine called Ontario to Doors that's in Southern Ontario. It's actually based out of Peterborough. Used to be, the office used to be right downtown, like in Toronto.
Amazing.
But, yeah.
So Kawartha Lakes.
Yeah, so I've fished all that stuff, right? Or Haliburton and Lake Ontario and all this stuff. But I would never do it by choice. Like I'm a Thunder Bay type person.
You said something really interesting to me about pressure on fishing. This is something I kind of want to get into, the sustainability of fishing. It's a hot topic. Food is near and dear to my heart. We look at protein sources. We might have beef, we have pork, we have fish. I mean, this is legumes and plants to some degree, but really human beings for the most part do need protein as a building block to survive. Fish as a protein, fish as food. How do you see it? Is it sustainable?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, one of the great things about Northern Ontario is that we've actually done a really good job, for the most part, conserving our resource. We have, actually, our fishing regulations, a lot of people don't know this, in Northern Ontario are often stricter than Southern Ontario, where there's way more people. Which I haven't ever quite figured that out, but we've done a pretty good job here of conserving resources. I mean, I grew up eating fish and game, like moose and deer, and my family was raised on that, and I still eat it. I mean, there's nothing more organic than a deer or a moose.
Isn't that true?
Right? Like whenever
true.
Somebody's going on about organic, whatever, I think, well, I got a freezer full of it, and I mean, I was able to stomp around in the woods to do it, and literally, there's nothing more free range than a deer or a moose or a ruffed grouse or whatever. And same with fish. I mean, I have a hard time buying fish in a market.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky. I know how to fish, right?
You do, yeah.
So it helps. Not everybody can catch fish.
Yeah.
But I'm able to eat and supply fresh fish, and spoiled.
So how many times in your life have you been saying to yourself, I'm a little bit hungry, I'm a little bit peckish, I'm going to go down to the lake or the river,
go catch a
and
fish,
catch dinner.
I've done it. Not so much, like if I'm sitting at home, like I'm going to go down and cast in Lake Superior or whatever. But I've done it like camping, absolutely.
Yeah.
Generally, I have something to eat in the house.
You got some backup?
Yeah, I got some backup. Have some moose steaks or deer chops or whatever, or walleye fillets.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, that's a big part of my diet.
Staying on the same track, loving food as much as I do, I'm challenged with buying fish in Thunder Bay. I'm challenged with buying fish in most places in Ontario.
Right.
Tell me if I'm wrong. This is my perception. Again, you know more about this than I do, so you're going to shed some light on this, hopefully, for me. I look out my window every day and I see this massive lake. I want to eat something from this lake, but I don't want to go and cast it. I want to be able to eat. I want to be able to go to. I can't really do that. I can kind of do that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple companies now in town.
Yeah, there's
the guys on Simpson Street, and then eat the fish.
Right. It's. Yeah.
Is there something wrong with this?
I'm not sure. That's the commercial fishing industry, and it's a totally different. Like growing up, I remember that you could buy lake trout and whitefish, and that was locally caught.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know all the ins and outs of the commercial fishing industry. I know you're right that it can be a challenge sometimes to get locally caught fish. I mean, there's a company out in Kenora that's trying to market what they're calling underutilized fish, which is like northern pike, which are phenomenal eating. Like growing up in Thunder Bay, pike. Actually, pike's phenomenal.
Pike is amazing.
It's amazing.
We love pike in the restaurants.
It's amazing fish.
So much to do with
it. It's flaky white meat. Comes from cold water.
Fatty.
it's
we love
delicious.
fat in restaurants.
It's delicious,
Yeah.
right? So there is marketing happening,
Yeah.
but there probably could be more.
What is your favorite fish to eat?
Probably perch.
Yeah.
I love perch. Perch are, they're not that big. They're just sweet and delicate, and it's a white meat. Walleye, obviously, or pickerel, as people call them. But I've eaten just about every type of fish. But a general, there's a fish called a crappie,
Right.
which is a panfish, and it's
Yeah.
about that big, and they are. The only thing about panfish, it's a pain to clean them because
Yeah.
they're small.
Uh-huh.
Whereas if you get a lake trout that's 8 pounds, or a salmon, which is a big fish. And salmon is excellent, right? Love eating Chinook salmon.
At the very beginning of my introduction to you, I called you a poster boy. When I first met you, formally, a couple years ago at CBC, within the next 3 weeks or so, I ran into you at a show, and you were promoting some boat. I mean, this boat must have cost $100,000, these beautiful boats. I walk into Shoppers Drug Mart to pick up a bag of chips or something, and
Right.
there you are on the front cover of a magazine. It was like Gord Ellis everywhere.
Yeah.
How do you market yourself?
Well,
How do you get on the front page of a magazine?
Well, so the magazine stuff all just comes from being outside and doing photography, and those decisions are generally made by editors.
Yeah.
And if they like the picture and they think you look good or the lighting's right, they'll put you on the cover. That's not really, it's marketing, but it's not anything I can control. I was in a program that the Thunder Bay District Health Unit put on. It's quite a while ago now, 7 or 8 years ago, called Get It On, which is about wearing PFDs, which
Right.
is something I do.
Sure.
I just wear PFDs because I don't want to drown.
Yeah.
Right. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to die.
No.
I fall in the water.
pretty simple.
I want to float. And so they had me as a poster boy, and I was on billboards, and you went into the bathroom, and there I was, and it wasn't really a marketing thing. I was helping to promote something I thought was a good thing, which is PFDs. So some of it's just by fluke, but I do market. I have to do some marketing as far as doing seminars and stuff. People ask me to do seminars, I do them.
When we come back from the break, we're going to ask Gord my favorite question, which is, what would you do? What advice would Gord have for you, the would-be entrepreneur, the person sitting at a desk who wants to go and innovate? We're going to hit Gord with that question. We're going to give him 8 or 9 minutes just to talk about that, because I'm sure he could dive into it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Ask an Innovator. One more quote to start off the last segment for Gord Ellis. In the presence of nature, a wild delight runs through the man in spite of real sorrows. Off camera, that was Emerson. Off camera, I was telling Gord a story about my very limited fishing experience. How being left with my own thoughts in nature while doing this for a long period of time, I found to be kind of challenging. Is fishing a spiritual? Do you need to practice to be alone while fishing?
I think for some people,
Yeah.
it is. To me, it's very spiritual. It's to me, the wilderness is my church. It's it's a place where I retreat to, and I feel the most myself when I'm out, literally like standing in a river.
Yeah.
Like, if that's the essence of whoever I am, that's it. And I love it, and I don't get enough of it, and I never get tired of it.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, how can you fish like 16 days in a row? And it's not a problem. Like, other things for 16 days in a row can be a problem, but I can fish 16. It's just I feel very, very comfortable in that surrounding.
I find it really interesting. Do you think that we underestimate the spiritual aspects of spending time, say, doing something like fishing or hunting, sitting with nature,
Yep.
not necessarily catching a fish, not necessarily hunting, not shooting a deer or a moose?
Yeah, so like hunting is 99.9% being outdoors. The actual harvest is like the shortest period of the whole thing. Like, I hunt all fall starting like in August and go to December 15th, and I'll like harvest a couple deer. The amount of time I spend in the bush compared to that actual moment of harvesting the animal, it's the tiniest part of it, right? The rest of it, I just, everything about it, like setting up, being outside, scouting, walking around, watching animals, that's what does it for me. I just love it. And again, I can sit in one spot all day.
I'm hearing a story of juxtaposition. I'm hearing a story of contrast right now. We think of men and women that hunt or fish as these tough, weathered, matter-of-fact, say, type people. But what I'm hearing in reality, and I don't know if this picture is really painted. We talk about people that meditate. We think of someone wearing some kind of Buddhist garb, sitting in a temple meditating. But I'm listening to hearing you speak right now, and I'm listening to the tough hunter and the meditator, and I'm seeing some.
Yeah, so you do get weathered. If you sit in a boat or sit out, like you're in the elements. I mean, it can be pretty gnarly. You know, like if you're out stomping around for moose in December and it's minus 25, there's not a lot of meditation going on. It's like the struggle for survival, right?
I'm trying way too hard.
But that being said, and I'm hearing what you're saying, there is definitely a thing to it. It's it's not all about it's not all about just the killing of a moose. It's part of it, of course, just like catching a fish is part of fishing, but there's so much more to it. And I think the easiest thing for people to digest from the outside is, a guy in a blaze orange and whatever, but there's so much more to it than that. And for me, it's also a family thing. I mean, my grandfather was an outdoors person. My dad, and my mom, they had me out when I was 6 months old fishing, literally before I could walk. And my kids, I took them out. It's also, there's a family. There's this huge, and not everybody does this thing, right? Not everybody does it. There's 10% or less do regularly fish and hunt and whatever.
It's a commitment.
It's a lifestyle choice.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. It's a lifestyle choice. I think in seasons. My whole world is wrapped around seasons.
So speaking of lifestyle, let's jump to the question that I promised everybody that we would allow you to touch on, which is the lifestyle that a lot of people have. I don't know they necessarily enjoy.
Right.
You choose your lifestyle because you clearly enjoy it. You have I would say, have your cake, eat it too approach to life. What advice do you have to people to get out there, innovate, do their own thing, be their own boss, face those fears?
Yeah, in my 20s, I was doing different things, and I thought I would end up doing different things. And at some point, I decided, well, it's a long story, but the short of it is I decided I was going to take a stab at being a writer to make a living, which I did starve for a while.
Yeah.
I did. I couldn't put gas in my truck for a while. It was brutal, but I was committed to it. I committed to doing it, trying it, right? And I had, I felt I had talent. I had a passion to do it. I didn't know how to do it really.
Were you writing then about
outdoors? I've always been a writer. I've written my whole life. One thing I actually did well, and I wasn't a great student, but I did really well in creative writing.
Yeah.
And I remember teachers saying I had self-expression.
Right.
For whatever reason, I had to get stuff out. And so that really helped when I became a writer and a broadcaster, ultimately telling stories, and that's just what I do. That's ultimately what I do.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's not easy. And as a freelancer, you never know if you're going to lose your gig. I've been super, super lucky have long-term gigs.
Yeah.
CBC, I've had a long-term gig. Ontario Outdoors I wrote for the local paper for 23 years. That was a great gig for me. It was.
Do you think it's luck, or do you think it's good planning?
I tried to be consistent and have my pieces in on time and show up for work. And
you're clearly doing something right.
I've tried, I've tried to be consistent and listen to criticism and, constructive criticism, and tried to improve my craft where I could. That's all you can do. But I think really you have to have a passion for it. And I have people ask me, I want to do what you do. And I tell them, well, you better be ready. It's going to be a tough grind. Like, especially now, you really have to, like when I started, I was on a typewriter, you know.
A what?
yeah, exactly. Like at CBC, I was like using tape and cutting it. Now it's all digital, and the internet changed the whole game, everything.
sure
and it's
has.
changed what I do, and it's changed how information gets out. So you have to be pretty flexible.
That's amazing. Gord Ellis. Well, there you have it. As well-rounded, fearless, and as courageous as they come, Gord Ellis personifies this show. If it were not for our catch and release laws here enforced by our fearless leader, Janice Gummerson, we just might throw Gord into the live well. And, well, you get the picture. We want to keep him. The perfect, iconic Ask An Innovator guest. I will say this, though. Gord is a modern Renaissance man. I promised I would tie Renaissance into this somehow. A Renaissance man is a person whose expertise spans a significant number and various subject areas. So be like Gord, and most importantly, explore. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.